It's no lie to say that Chinese New Year is a festival that is observed by literally billions of people across the planet every single year, and so most online games have a Chinese New Year festival going on in the game, and Hearthstone and World of Warcraft are no different, with the Lunar festival currently going on. Now in Hearthstone, this means that they've added some new stuff to the store, including Omen, a demon hunter, and this is so fitting for me. I'm a mad fan of the Warcraft lore. I've been playing World of Warcraft since its original classic release, and Omen was an NPC that appeared in Moonglade during the Lunar festival. He's also a demon hunter in this, which is one of my favourite classes to play. I've not had any good artwork for the demon hunter class, so picking this up was a no-brainer for me. It gives you the new artwork with the voice lines, a new card back, and 5 demon hunter packs. That was pretty obvious, and today I'm going to be showcasing Omen in his sort of form and what this looks like, and one of the Demon Hunter decks that I use to play, the Scythe No Creature Demon Hunter deck. It's a lot of fun, it's a little bit more expensive to build than some of the other decks out there, but still not terribly bad, and it is very competitive and a lot of fun. I'm then going to showcase this in a battle against an enemy that I normally would struggle with a lot of my other decks, and even the Demon Hunter should technically struggle against this deck, but we're going to show you how this deck can win. Now, if you do enjoy this video, please let me know by hitting subscribe on the channel if you haven't already, like the video, and let me know in a comment down below what you think. What decks you're playing? Are you enjoying Hearthstone? How are you getting on? Otherwise, all that said and done then, let's jump right in. Now, there's no sense in hiding it. Scythe Demon Hunter is one of the top net decks at the moment, but just because there's a deck list online that other people are winning with doesn't necessarily mean that you yourself can build it and then just win games with it. You do need to understand how it works, and there are times when you might want to change things around depending on the meta that you're playing in. Because it works at the top tiers doesn't necessarily mean it works at the lower tiers where different strategies are played and you're going up against very different opponents. Now, the Scythe Demon Hunter deck centers around one simple card, the Soul Eater Scythe. Now, the Soul Eater Scythe, as you can see here, it says at the very start of the game, it consumes 3 different minions in your deck, leaving behind souls that discover them. Essentially, it will find 3 random creatures out of your deck, remove them from the deck, and then instead put in a 1-cost spell that allows you to discover one of those 3. So basically, it does mean those creatures theoretically cost 1 more to summon because you've got to discover them, but it does mean that you get to pick and choose which of the 3 you will use whenever you need them. Now, the trick to this deck then is to make sure that those are the only 3 creatures in the deck, and then that everything else is built around them. So let's introduce you to the 3 creatures, the 3 stars of the show, and ultimately the 3 most expensive cards really in here, or 2 of them at least. Now, the first is an old favourite in Demon Hunters, Lady S'theno. She works with Illidan Stormrage. If you do play World of Warcraft and you do the Demon Hunter intro questline, you will meet Lady S'theno of the Coilscar Naga. Ultimately, her ability here, she's a 2/4 for 3, which doesn't sound all that good until you read her abilities. She is immune while attacking, and after you cast a spell, she attacks the lowest health enemy. This means if you play her and you've got a handful of spells, you can start playing some light removal and she will just finish stuff off. And if you reach a point where the board is completely clear and you've still got spells in your hand, you can hit your opponent with those or summon creatures using some of the spells that you have in this deck, and she will just keep attacking. She can do this multiple times in a turn. There are actually achievements for how many times you can get her to attack in one turn. One of the other ones we're going to be looking at here is Jace Darkweaver. This guy allows you to cast all fell spells that you've played this game again when he comes into play. He is an 8-cost, so it's fairly late in the game, but that's actually a good thing because it means you've had plenty of time to play a whole ton of different fell spells against various different targets, and he will just basically call all of those fell spells back and do them again, and that can be absolutely game-swinging right there. This is almost a win condition on its own. Now, the other creature that we have in here is the Silver Moon Arcanist, and she's actually a common, believe it or not, but really good. Spell damage +2, but the downside, Battle Cry, your spells can't target heroes this turn. It's a good thing then that most of the spells in this deck don't actually have specific targets, because that battle cry isn't actually a problem, and that spell damage +2 turns some of the really minor cards you have in this deck into some absolutely terrifying combos. And ultimately, if you're lucky enough to get her and Lady Setheno out at the same time, well, hilarity ensues. So other than those three, everything else in the deck is not a creature. Those are the only three creatures in this deck. That way we guarantee that the Soul Eater's Scythe is going to devour those three. So let's look at the other spells. Down at the 1 cost, we have Feast of Souls, and this is a card you kind of want to mulligan out of your hand at the start. Draw it later. It's incredibly useful, but it does require a bit of setup, and it's not a 1 cost that can be played on its own. Basically, you draw a card for each friendly minion that died this turn, and you'll see more of that later on. We then have Fury. Again, I try to mulligan this one out of my starting hand. It's a 1 cost that gives your hero +2 attack, and then when you have 5 mana, it upgrades to +3 attack, and when you have 10 mana, it upgrades to +4 attack, all for the low cost of 1 mana. As such, I don't really like playing it before we hit the 5 mana, unless I absolutely have to. Usually gets mulliganed, play it later, twin that with Lady Setheno to get some really nasty attacks off. Sigil of Alacrity, on the other hand, this is a card we do actually really want to try and get in our opening hand through the mulligan if you have to. Don't go hardcore like, oh, I need to hard mulligan to get a Sigil of Alacrity. No, it's just a really nice card to have in the start. Remember, Demon Hunter's main character ability, their attack, is only 1 mana, so you do always have something you can do on turn 1, even if you don't have a 1-cost card. But Sigil of Alacrity is a really nice one to have, because next turn you draw an extra card, and that card is reduced by 1. Makes a lot of these cards 0 cost and others very low cost. So again, this means that they can then be comboed with the Lady Setheno or the Silvermoon Arcanist. You can stack a load of these spells to do big scary things in 1 turn. Then we have the Sinful Brand, and this honestly is such an underrated card. I've spoken to a lot of people about this who look at it and go, it's okay. I love this. It's incredible. Not only is it a spell, so Lady Setheno will attack when you play it, but it also brands an enemy minion. So whenever that minion takes damage, you deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. There is nothing funnier than watching your opponent drop a big 8/8 Taunter out, you play a load of 1/1 minions with Rush, and then hit Sinful Brand. That is 8 instances of 1 damage, which triggers 2 damage across. That's 16 damage to your opponent as you rip apart the 8/8. That is the power of this card. Really, really useful. And again, playing it will trigger Lady Setheno to attack as well. If it's the only creature out, like often the big ones tend to be, then it's just hilarious. Then we have Unleash Fel, the last of our 1 costs. Deal 1 damage to all enemies, Mana Thirst 6 with Lifesteal. So once you've got 6 of the mana crystals on your side of the board, this will also lifesteal everything. It's not amazing when you look at it on its own. 1 damage to everything can be really useful if you need a bit of quick board wipe early on, especially against Paladin Dude decks. But again, when we trigger this with the Silvermoon Arcanist, that on its own is already 3 damage to everything, and if it's at 6 Mana Thirst or higher, that's with Lifesteal. That can save you in a pinch, and it is great fun. Moving on to the 2 costs, we have Chaos Strike. This is another one I like to have in my starting hand, because on turn 1 I can attack, and then on turn 2 I can play Chaos Strike to give myself bigger attack and draw a card. You really don't ever want to run out of cards in this deck. You are going to burn through things quickly. This is very much an aggro deck. You need to be hitting fast, you need to be hitting hard, and not letting your opponent slow you down. Drawing cards so that you never have an empty hand is vital to that. Fel Barrage, deal 2 damage to the lowest health enemy twice. This is again useful as removal. If your opponent has 2 2/2 creatures, it will kill both of them. If they've only got 1 creature and nothing else, it will hit the lowest creature, then go for the other player as well. If there's nothing on the board at all, it will go for the player. So again, you've got a nice bit of removal there that does also hit the enemy player without targeting them, which again, Silvermoon Arcanist, and that's now 3 damage to the lowest health enemy twice, and you don't have to worry about that battle cry. We then have Mark of Scorn. Draw a card. If it's not a minion, deal 3 damage to the lowest health enemy. We know that everything in this deck is a spell because the only 3 creatures are going to have been eaten by the Soul Eater's Scythe. This will always trigger. It's basically 2 cost to deal 3 damage to something and draw a card. That is just incredible, very, very powerful, and if you're lucky enough to get Sigil Alacrity to drop that down, having multiple of those in your hand is just hilarious. Eldrazi Warblades is a bit of a weird one, and I've seen people swap this in and out for all kinds of other stuff. Essentially, I've looked through this deck multiple times. Ultimately, this is what I would consider one of the weaker cards in the deck, but there's not really much you can really put else in there, and that lifesteal has saved me many, many times. Having the Eldrazi Warblades on, then next turn summoning Jace Darkweaver, or if I'm at 10 mana, having both of them, well, not in the same turn, but, you know, playing Jace Darkweaver and getting all of those attack buffs with lifesteal on your hero when you attack does give some really powerful damage, and again, you can be sitting on 2 health and be right the way back up at full health very, very quickly. This is one you might want to look into swapping out for something else, but it is kind of up to you. I've seen Sigil of Silence been used sitting right here as well. At the start of your next turn, silence all minions. It's a little bit slow to activate, but it can be useful in a pinch if you've got, again, like a Dude Paladin where everything's buffing everything. Silencing everything can just be a really useful way to do it. Fun fact on that, if someone has, for example, done something like the Devourer, that 9 cost that came out in March of the Lich King that devours 1 or 3 enemy minions and gains their stats, if you silence it, it goes right back to being a 3/3 creature. Fun little tip for you. Coordinated Strike, incredibly useful. 3/1/1 Illidari with Rush come out. Brilliant removal to get rid of something up to a 3/3 or 3/1/1s. Again, with the Sinful Brand on something, you can do massive damage to your opponent whilst doing some removal. You'll see that comes back again later. Predation. This one's a bit more complex, so we'll come back to that. We're going to look at the Fel'Dorei Warband, because this is basically Coordinated Strike, but for 1 additional mana, deal 4 damage, and if your deck has no minions, summon 4 1/1 Illidari with Rush. It's basically Coordinated Strike that gives an extra Illidari with Rush, and also deals 4 damage to something. Absolutely incredible. That and a Sinful Brand just work so well together. Watching your opponent play a 4/4 creature and you just, or an 8 creature, something with 8 health, you then hit it with Sinful Brand, you hit it with the Fel'Dorei Warband, then you hit it with the 4 and you kill it in 1 turn, dealing a total of, what's that, 10 damage to your opponent as well that passes through thanks to Sinful Brand. Now, Predation, going back to this one, bit more of a complex one. Deal 3 damage for 3, costs 0 if you played a Naga while holding this. Try and get these in your hand, then play Lady Setheno, because it's going to be 6 total damage, unless, of course, you've got the Silver Moon Arcanist, at which point they're 5 damage each. They'll be completely free, and they trigger her attack. All great fun there. If we come down a little bit further then, we come to the Soul Eater Scythe itself, obviously an auto include in the deck. Actually equipping it and using it, it's not terrible. 4 damage, really, really nice. And again, that can be really powerful with all of the additional buffs, like having Chaos Strike or Fury and things like that on your character as well, to really buff that damage. Deal with the Devil, then it comes in, summon 2 3/3 Fel Fiends with a lifesteal. If your deck has no minions, summon another. So you get 3 3/3 Fel Fiends with lifesteal. Not great in a pinch because they haven't got rush or anything, and your opponent will do everything in their power to remove them, but lifesteal minions have this way of basically having like a subtle taunt. Like, your opponent will not leave those on the board if they can help it. They will do everything they can, which in itself makes for a really nice stalling mechanic. It also twins nicely with Jace, because all of these are Fel spells, which means he's going to do all of these again. So that Deal with the Devil means any of those that have been cast, Jace is going to bring back, along with things like Fury, Unleash Fel there, the Chaos Strike is Fel, Fel Barrage is Fel. You could just get all of those Fel spells proccing and re-triggering, and again, if you do have Setheno on the board, she just goes crazy, whacking everything whilst being immune. The final card to talk about then is Kurtrus Demon Render. Battlecry, summon 2 1/4 demons with Rush. He gives you 5 armor, he is 6 to play. Those 1/4 demons with Rush are improved by your hero attacks this game, so the more you've been attacking, the bigger those are going to be when they come out. Basically, they get +1/+0 for every attack your hero has done throughout the game. You can have games where these come out as like 8/4s or 10/4s, and then are just absolutely terrifying quick bits of removal. If you've got a load of creatures on the battlefield as well, through things like Coordinated Strike or Fel'Dorei Warband, the fact that he has this really cool ability as well, Ashfallen's Fury, works so nicely. Basically, it is a 1 mana to flip the coin and give yourself +2 attack. once a creature on your side of the board attacks, that comes back over and can be used again. So imagine you've got 4 1/1 Eladari on the board from last turn. You've got 10 mana. You play Kurtrus. He comes out. He attacks with one of his creatures because they've got Rush, or you attack with one of the Eladari. You use this ability. You've got +2 attack already beforehand. He attacks. It resets. The second creature attacks. You use it again, and so on. You keep going, giving yourself +2 attack as each of your creatures attack. The only trouble with that is you do have to be quite quick about it because it takes so long to do. You can end up being at a point where your turn starts to run out. Again, he's not really an endgame condition on his own, but that Ashfallen's Fury is very powerful if you've got creatures out to keep stacking it. You can get up to, essentially, if you've got 10 mana and enough creatures on the board or ways to proc it, you could theoretically give yourself 20 attack with it. It's never going to happen. You're more likely to get something like 6 or 8 attack with it, but still, that's a lot when you consider that you can buff yourself up further with things like Fury or Chaos Strike. Anyway, that's the deck. Let's have a look at it in action. Now, priests are actually one of the tougher enemies to go up against in this deck, because if they can stall you long enough, you just don't have the cards and the abilities to play a long game. You need to be rushing. That's why I want to get rid of the Feast of Souls, as I said, kind of pointless to have in the opening hand when you've got no creatures, and again with the other one there. So we're just going to go for some nice rush to start with. I've got my attack on turn 1, I've then got Chaos Strike for turn 2, so on and so forth. And there you can see that what the Scythe does. It takes those 3 creatures and turns them into bound souls. Annoyingly, Feast of Strength comes back. We don't need it yet, so I'm just going to literally attack straight into the first turn. Off we go, start getting some damage in quick and early. See what they do in their first turn. I played a couple of matches before this one as well where people were just delaying and letting their turns time out, which was really annoying. Okay, so Chaos Strike comes out on turn 2. It's 2 cost. It allows me to draw another card. Again, sad that it's another Feast of Souls, but the +2 damage is nice in helping me to rush this priest down a bit. The lower I can get her before she starts playing things, the better a lead I'm going to get. Now we've got a creature out that when it death rattles, she gets to copy something from my deck. This is the Copy Priest archetype. Now, Eldrazi Warblades is normally something I'd want to play later on, but ultimately I'd rather keep that Fury for later on so that +2 attack becomes +3, and the lifesteal does mean that the 3 damage this creature would do to me as I remove it doesn't actually hurt all that much. Rather than 3 damage, I'm only taking 1. Nice and simple, keep her board down. Who cares that she's getting an ability out of my deck? We'll see what it is later on, I'm sure. Hopefully it's nothing too crazy. Real bonus thing would be if she gets a copy of a Bound Soul, because there's nothing she can do with it. Yeah, there's that good old Amulet of Undying resurrection spell. The more you trade that, the more stuff you get to resurrect. That's going to come back and hurt me later on. There's Fell Barrage, but we're going to go straight in with the 4 damage and 4 demons on the board. This, I normally wouldn't do this unless there was a creature out, but I want to be putting that pressure on her at this point. So having 4 1/1s on the board, hopefully she doesn't have any of her big AoE removal. She's just going to be doing sort of the 1 damage at a time, at which point these guys get to stick around and kind of do their thing for as long as possible and just be a little bit scary to her. Out goes her mana. I've still got all 4 on the board, and there's Predation. That means Lady Setheno is going to be happy when she comes out. Okay, so first things first, let's kill off that creature using all 4 Eladari. I do have that Feast of Souls. I've got 2 of them, in fact. I could play both of them, but I think it's probably going to be a bit overkill and will overflow my hand, which I really don't want to do. Let's see what we get. There we are. Mark of Scorn, 3 damage straight through, and draw a card. Nice. 2 mana left. Bound Soul's tempting, Fury's tempting. There's a lot of stuff that we could do here. Let's use the Scythe and pick one of these going forward. Lady Setheno, I do already have the Predation. The Silvermoon Arcanist, though, I get the feeling this priest is going to start summoning some stuff. We'll have to see. I don't want to sit around with no mana, so we may as well get a bit more damage in and try burning this priest down a bit more. So let's use that Fury and get some damage in there. See what she has. Obviously, as priest gets up in the mana, things do become a little bit scarier. 6 out of 5 now, so 6 mana crystals. There we are. Light Shower Elemental. Taunt with a Death Rattle that heals both of us for 8. That is a purely beneficial to her. If it dies, I do not get the heal. Is it worth bringing the Silvermoon Arcanist out at this point? That spell damage to +2. Yeah, okay, let's have a look and see what we can do with this. So, first things first, Unleash Fell. Let's deal 3 damage across the board to her and the creature. That's 4 damage to both of them, or 4 damage and then 2 damage. This is difficult. Yeah, let's go for the 3. The lifesteal, the waste of the lifesteal is a bit annoying, but oh well. Then we can do the 5 damage there for the that 2 damage. 2 damage becomes 4 damage. 4 damage with her out, it's enough to kill and deal 4 damage straight across to her. Now, she's not going down quite as fast as I'd like. She is a priest. Priests are able to really draw a game out. They kind of grab you and just slow things down and try and build their win conditions from that. Very control-y decks, some very nasty priest combos out there, and I always get worried when they really start slowing down. I mean, I've got it from 35 down to 23. That's 12 damage in 6 turns. I'm okay with that. But that Amulet of the Undying was at 2 resurrections. It's now at 3 resurrections. That's going to be scary later on, because that's 3 creatures that I've killed that get to come back. Oh, there we are. She had the Predation out of my deck. That's the card that she copied, and she has played a Naga, so yeah, she gets that for free. Sigil of Alacrity comes out. Okay. I think I've got the mana to play that this turn, maybe. The 4 damage is going to be nice straight to that creature. And having the 4 with Rush, yeah, I think I'm going to probably overshoot her, take the 4 damage, and then just deal 4 directly to the creature. It's only a 2 damage. I don't mind that it's not going to die this turn. I don't think there's any crazy tricks she can do with it. Feast of Souls, yep, let's get 4 cards out of that. 4 minions have died this turn, so it's a 4-card draw. Some nice options there. Ooh, Chaos Strike. Yep, we like Chaos Strike. I am going to be going straight up against that creature, but it's a 2-2, so yeah, let's do it. 2 damage straight to it. It's 2 damage back to me, and she gets the death rattle of, I think it's copying something from my hand or from my deck. I don't remember which one it is, but yeah, not too bad. And it's keeping the board clear so she can't buff or do anything crazy like that. And oh look, there's the other Light Shower Elemental in her deck. Yay! 8 healing when that dies. Mark of Scorn though, that's always going to be nice. Deal with the Devils out. I do have the time to pull those out, but I just don't need the lifesteal. Yeah, let's go Mark of Scorn, 3 damage to that, and we get a Bound Soul. Cool. Right, here we can now grab Lady Setheno, and we can showcase her in action. So I'm going to play her now, and you'll see that straight away those 2 Predations have gone to 0 cost. So let's cast those straight on our Priest there. 3 damage. Lady Setheno attacks. She's immune. She takes no damage back. 3 damage to the Priest for the second one, and she finishes off that taunt. Sadly, that does heal her up 8, but it's going to happen at some point. It needs to happen, right? Yeah, let's go for the 1 cost, because either way she's only going to attack once. This way I can also get myself the attack there. Okay, so that's Lady Setheno, and you get to see there that she bounces through enemies quite nicely. She's probably going to get removed this turn. She's a creature that, again, a lot of people see her in action on your first turn and kind of immediately go, nope, I'm not letting that happen again. Oh, there's the buff, the +2/+1, and draw a card on a creature that, when it dies, copies a card from my deck. So she's going to make that as big and scary as possible. 3 mana left. Maybe Setheno is going to survive this turn? I don't know, we'll have to see. At which point that's not really going to do much. Deal damage to a minion equal to its attack. 2/2. Yeah, and here comes another one, I bet. Yeah, Nargling Battlecry, cast the light, it burns. There we are, deal damage to a creature equal to its own attack. Down goes Lady Setheno. She's not attacking herself, it's just her damage onto herself. Okay, a little bit disappointing she didn't make it through, but entirely expected. Okay, so the Sigil of Alacrity gave me another Sigil of Alacrity. That's always nice. It's free. I may as well just play that. Next turn, 1 card is going to be cheaper. Now we've got a choice. There's a lot of stuff that can be going on here. I think Unleash Fell is going to start because we're going to deal 1 damage to everything. That takes that down to a 2 health creature, which means now that if I do the Fell Barrage, it'll kill that creature and overflow across. Maybe the, yeah, let's go with the Eldari instead. We can do it that way. 2 of those die. That leaves 1 on the board to leave a little bit of pressure. Yeah, let's go for the Soul Eater Scythe. I've got Kurtrus in my hand. I do want to be getting a few more attacks in there to buff up his rush creatures before I play that, otherwise it's going to be problematic. Now again, this priest has really dragged this game on now. We're almost at the 10 mana stage. I am genuinely worried what is going to happen. Resurrect 3 Death Rattle minions. Oh yep, there we go. Oh, we've got 2 of those incriminating psychics, and we've got the 6/6 that heals her for 8 when it dies. Beautiful, and she's just doing a load of health restore there as well, really dragging this game out. Okay, this is slightly worrying because my deck is looking very thin, but there is the Sinful Brand, and it's completely free as well. Awesome. Now I've just got to decide which one to put it on, and ultimately I guess it doesn't really matter because the aim is that I'm going to get rid of all of them this turn, and they are all 6/6 health. Okay, let's pull out Kurtrus and bring in his 2 demons, which at this point are both 9/4s. I have attacked 8 times this game. Nice, I probably should have attacked before doing that, but because I'm not intending to do the big attack this turn. There we go, that do 2 damage, and you can see that that Sinful Brand has procced across as well. Let's use the Fury, and then we attack. Let's go with the 1 damage first of all, so that we pass the 2 from the Sinful Brand. The 9/4 kills, it's only 1 instance of damage, so it's 2 damage across again, and kill off the other 6. I should have flipped that in between, but I can. Plus 2 damage or plus 4. Plus 2 damage or plus 4. Idiot that I am, I didn't even think to buff it, but ultimately I don't really need to, I guess. No, it's a 6 creature, it's a 6 creature, I'm fine with that. That's not a mistake. Would have been pointless to spend the mana on a spell just to overkill a creature and gain nothing for it. Okay, that buff is now back and ready for her. She can do +2/+1 on whatever she plays. Oops, she played the Bound Soul. It's not going to do anything. You don't have a creature with the Bound Scythe. Oops. Yep, there we go. Let's have a look at what else she did. Destroy all minions with 5 or more attack. Nice. Shadow Word Ruin gets rid of those. Reduce the cost of cards copied from your opponent's +2/+3 creature. Yep, she's going to make it a 4/4 creature. Makes sense. Gets to draw a card as well. She's going to heal herself up, dragging this game on. Look at my deck. That is scary. I am running so low on cards. Right, we've got a Sinful Brand, but not really much to do with it. Let's just play it for now. Give the hero +4 attack, and deal with the devil. Let's deal with the devil to bring out those 3 3/3s with lifesteal. I don't really need the lifesteal at the moment. I'm on 29 out of 30. I should have used that before attacking. Oh well. That would have been 2 extra damage. She'd be on 17 right now. Hopefully that doesn't come and bite me in the backside in a few moments' time. Let's see what happens this turn. Destroy all minions with 3 attack or less. Nice. Gets rid of my 3 without worrying about the lifesteal. Again, not that it matters. Steals a card from my hand. It's only a 1/1 creature and a 4/4. That's not too worrying right now. We've got 4/10, 4 mana there. Still left to use. Fury. That was the other one that she copied from me. Okay, +4 attack. Priest. Getting attacked by a priest. Like, that's a surprising amount of damage for being hit around the face by a priest. By basically a quarterstaff, I imagine. 8 damage. Okay, low of cards. Right, now we have the Bound Soul. There's only 1 creature left here, Jace Darkweaver, so let's showcase him in action as well. Let's draw him, play him, and watch every fell spell that I've played this game so far trigger again. Oh yes, there we go. We are now out of cards, because I've got to draw a card from that. You can see my attack is going up. We're getting that, there's that damage from the mark going through. She's on 14. All of this damage from those fell strikes, the fell barrage. Again, if you have the Arcanist out when you do this, it's just hilarious. Hero is now on +2 attack. A little bit of fatigue damage on the end there because, yeah, 11 damage to her. That was going to be a win. And down she goes. Priest deck, utterly wrecked. That was a really fun match to play, and not one that going in I honestly thought I would do as well as I did. Priests are normally a problem for the Demon Hunter deck, and you can see that in this case I did get right to the end of my cards, but I'd built up a super strong win condition myself. Her dragging the game out was actually in a way beneficial to me because it meant that Jace became really, really powerful. I'd gone through all of the spells in the deck that I could by the time that I summoned him pretty much. That's practically a win condition. And having Omen as your hero is just so cool. cool. Having a demon dog that is barking and howling while you're attacking is just really cool. I really like his voice lines. I really like the graphics. I really like the actual, the back of the card art as well. Let's just showcase that quickly because it does look really quite nice. I like, you know, I'm a bit of a sucker when it comes to cosmetics, but I like that one. I like that a lot. It's simple, it's not overblown, but it really showcases what Omen and Demon Hunters are really, really about, and that's just really cool in my opinion. Anyway, I will put the code for this deck into the description down below. I know I forgot to do that at first last week. I did put it in there if anyone's wondering for the Murloc Madness deck. But again, if you've got any decks that you think it'd be fun to play or showcase, if you want to give me a game on Hearthstone, let me know in the comment section down below. Come join me on Discord, hit me up, let me know what you think. I would love to add as many of you as I can on Battle.net, play some games against you, have a good time. Anyway, folks, let me know your thoughts and opinions. Otherwise, happy sailing and see you all next time.